Chicago Housing Authority is an area that I cover, and when you look at vouchers, subsidized housing vouchers, and where they're clustered, so they took the vertical segregation of high rises and made it horizontal. And this is not blaming the residents or saying that former public housing residents are bad, but you took down a poor Black segregated neighborhood, and then you put those people in poor Black segregated neighborhoods. And then there are also some class issues that are happening in neighborhoods when I think Black communities have intrinsically been class diverse because we were only allowed to live in so many areas. But there's still some conflicts that arise because of that. I would say crime is an issue, but I don't cover violence in the traditional sense of who got shot last night. Gun violence is symptomatic of a larger issue of inequity in the city. So in some ways I look at my job as covering segregation and inequities in the city of Chicago, and that manifests itself in not equal opportunity in housing, lack of jobs, too much crime, too much vacant land. But at the same time, these neighborhoods, I'll take Inglewood for example, people think of Inglewood as shortcut for poor, Black, dangerous, bad in Chicago. But there are tons of Black clubs, there are tons of community organizations, and you might not know that because it's seen as, well, these people are just living this way and they're choosing to live this way. But you know, there's a lot of self-efficacy that I see in neighborhoods. And then there are lots of quiet, non-newsy Black neighborhoods, Black middle-class neighborhoods where people are just going to work, going to school, you know, living their lives at, you know, neighborhoods that I probably don't cover that much about because they're uneventful in a good way. Your Avalon Parks, your Washington Heights. But I do think that there's something tenuous about the Black middle class because research has shown that your housing value is not the same. You do all the right things, you buy a house, but if you buy in a Black neighborhood versus one that's more white or more diverse, you're not going to get the same return. And so neighborhoods are still struggling with foreclosures, abandoned buildings, and not enough investment. Gentrification is a word that is used. I think it's misused a lot, but we partner with the University of Illinois at Chicago and the Natalie Voorhees Center. And so this is, we hear about gentrification anecdotally, but what does that really mean? And honestly, it's not that prevalent in Chicago. What's happened in Chicago is that there's been a hollowing out of the middle class. So you've seen wealth grow, and I think you can look in places like the West Fulton Market, West Loop area, and see, you know, Google coming in and ridiculously expensive condos. And then you see neighborhoods like Roseland that are still struggling and have more poor people there. So gentrification is happening in places like Logan Square, but by and large, that's not the story of Chicago. And one of the stories I did is Black neighborhoods don't gentrify because there's still this perception of race. People may go into, I'll take Pilsen for example. There's been another study that's been done comparing Pilsen to Bronzeville. And Pilsen, you know, it's safe, it's ethnic, it's happy tacos. Bronzeville, there are public housing residents there. It's poor, it's Black, it's dangerous. So perception still informs where people move. And you know, we saw some of that in the West Loop, but I think because that's closer to the central city, you know, where Henry Horner was, or areas today that are called the West Loop that were called the West Side when I was growing up.
You were from Chicago?
I'm from Chicago.
And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Chatham. But South Side Black neighborhoods have not gentrified, but they have had some improvements. I'm looking at Douglas, Grand Boulevard, North Kenwood, Oakland. But because they were so far behind in housing value and unemployment and poverty, the upgrades they have seen do not equate to gentrification.